Hello and welcome to Let Me Be Your Game Guide, a podcast that spends each episode delving into a mystical new video game, exploring its charms and challenges, and helping you decide if it should be next on your list. I'm your host Emma, and with me are my co-hosts Rylan and Shawn. Join us for this week's spoiler-free episode as we escape reality and enter the metaphysical. For the remainder of this episode, let me be your game guide.
Nice.
Hello!
We're here, everybody.
It's the first game of 2025.
That's right.
Yes.
Woo, 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 woo.
Yes.
And the game we're doing was actually a suggestion by a listener. So River.
This
thank
one's
you.
for you.
Yeah.
Shout out River. We're doing this for you. We're covering Little Misfortune.
The first one of 2025.
Yeah. Very exciting. I hope
Man.
everyone's having a good new year.
Good January.
Yeah. I hope it's treating you right.
Yeah.
And if you made any New Year's resolutions, good for you. Keep it up.
Mhm.
You can do it. If you've already failed on your New Year's resolution, then whatever. You did your best, maybe.
Yeah, you
or
tried.
maybe you didn't, and who knows. But
There's always next year.
we don't judge.
Yeah.
Before we get started, I just thought I'd kind of plug our stuff here at the beginning, just because, new year, new structure.
That's right.
Just if you guys are interested in following the podcast, you can find us on I guess you're listening to the podcast right now, so you found us, but give us a follow. At the end, give us a rating. Leave us a review if you liked it. You can also find us on YouTube, Instagram, Twitch, and Twitter as Let Me Be Your GG. Our Patreon is patreon.com/letmebeyourgg. And then we're also on TikTok as Let Me Be Your Game Guide. So if you're interested in following any of those socials, then feel free. Otherwise, if you just want to sit back and listen, then no pressure. Just enjoy. That's what that's our hope. That's our true hope.
Kick back.
Yeah,
Relax.
Go on a drive.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're enjoying this, if you could follow, just, so we know you're enjoying it, it means a lot. We just like to see new followers wherever you're listening from, because it just feels like a little listening community. So
Yeah, shout out to Big Dad.
oh yeah, Big Dad.
Mhm.
You know who you are.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about Little Misfortune a little bit. It was developed by Kill Monday Games and published by Kill Monday Games. It's available on PC, Mac, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Nintendo Switch, Android, and iOS. It was released September 18th, 2019 for PC and Mac, February 13th, 2020 for Android and iOS, and May 29th, 2020 for PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. You can get this for $19.99 on most platforms, but if you are playing it on iOS, you can get it for $6.99, and if you're playing it on Android, you can get it for $8.99. So a little bit about the developers. They were founded in 2012. Kill Monday Games is a video game developer from Sweden. They were founded by a married couple, Natalia Martinsson and Isaac Martinsson. Their first game was released in 2015, and it's called Fran Bow. It's also a horror-style game. It's a point-and-click, and it was recently released on console, I believe last year. So you can also play that game on console now. Their name for their company, the Kill Monday Games, they say this on their website, but it actually came from when they started their development company. They were also working a 9-to-5. They were both working regular jobs, and so all of their work on this was weekend. And so by the time Monday came, it meant they needed to go back to their job.
That's fun.
And so Kill Monday was kind of like their way of they don't like Mondays.
Yeah.
For multiple reasons, I'm
Yeah.
sure. But yeah, so of course, if this kind of stuff is fun to do, so you got to go back to 9-to-5. We get that all the time. This is fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd rather be doing this full time.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. So, another reason to give the podcast a follow. If we could do this full time, we could really go crazy.
Mhm.
We all work 9-to-5s, so
7 to 4.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's true. Sorry, 7 to 4. But we just love this. This is just really fun, and that's really why we're doing it. So,
Yeah.
if you're enjoying it, I'm happy that you're enjoying it.
But let us know.
Yeah, let us know if you're enjoying it.
Mhm.
So that's enough really about the founders, the developers. They're the main names, and I've started doing this. I'm just gonna post a link to the full credits because there are other people that did work on this game, but I just wanted to talk about the main developers. Natalia and Isaac, they did a lot of work on this game, and I'll link all of this in the show notes. But there was also Henrik Norman, who voiced Mr. Voice. We'll talk about Mr. Voice later, or maybe next episode. I'm not sure if we'll go too much into it during the rating episode, but and then Misfortune Ramirez Hernandez was voiced by Natalia Martinson
Herself.
herself.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So the accessibility report I have also linked in the show notes. This is available on the Family Gaming Database. They break it down really well, and they give you all the details you need. So if the accessibility report's something you need to take a look at before you play a game, the link is in our show notes. I will give the spoiler-free description real quick, just because River's not here to do it. We have started having the person who picked the game do the spoiler-free review. So this game is about a little girl, an 8-year-old girl named Misfortune, and she has obviously grown up in unfortunate circumstances, and this is an adventure she goes on in the hope of finding eternal happiness, a promise made to her by a voice who is speaking to her through her head. It's not a point and click, but it has a point and click
It's like
style.
a walk and select.
A walk and
Yeah,
select.
for
sure.
Yeah.
New genre.
Yep. It's a side scroller. Very, very simple, but it's a dark comedy. A dark comedy, I would say.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Very dark.
Very dark.
Yeah.
And before we start our full rating, I do have a complaint.
Oh.
I'm sorry.
Complaint department.
We have played a few games that come with trigger warnings at the beginning.
This one didn't have that.
No.
This one did not have a trigger warning, and I think that for a game that has so many triggering topics in it, it definitely needed a trigger warning.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm not triggered by many of these things, but I know that there are a lot of people that are. I mean, it touches on a lot of touchy subjects, and I mean, just trauma in general.
Yep.
The whole game is kind of built on trauma. And for anyone that had a traumatic childhood or experienced any one of the things that's brought up in this game, I think that it really deserved to have a trigger warning at the beginning, because it's advertised as kind of dark, maybe a little bit. It's not a horror, but it's like,
I think maybe a little bit. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, slightly, yeah.
But it's advertised as kind of a very cheeky game, I would say, but it's gallows humor for sure. It's dark. It's very dark. And so, I mean, even Brothers, A Tale of Two Sons had a pretty lengthy trigger warning at the beginning, which is great, but compared to this game, I really think there needed to be a trigger warning. Just like Doki Doki Literature Club, I didn't play that with you guys. I played that with Big Dad.
Oh, yeah.
With Big Dad, yeah.
And Lauren, and that had a very extensive trigger warning that you linked. It didn't even have it on the game, but you could link to the webpage. So that's my complaint.
I didn't even finish listening to that episode. I was too scared.
Yeah, honestly, I would say that it was, I don't know. That one, it goes like 0 to 100. This one is just like at about 90 or 85 the whole time.
You have like a mid-episode trigger warning, I think, like at like the 37th minute or something. And then I'm like, this is too strong of a warning for me. I'm out.
Yeah. So anyways, that's just my one complaint real quick, kind of related to accessibility, I guess, too, because I think there needed to be a trigger warning here. That was one place that they faltered, in my opinion.
Yeah, because it was kind of like right off the bat, they just smack you with, here's some trauma dump. So,
Yep.
yeah.
And then over and over again throughout.
Yeah.
It's like, is this a trauma? Can this be a trauma? They just put it all in there. They fit it.
Yeah, they fit it all in. So.
Yeah. So now what you've all been waiting for, let's get started on our spoiler-free game rating. We take into account general considerations such as length, challenge rating, and replayability. We also consider story and narrative topics including plot, characters, world building, and content variety, presentation topics including graphics, sound design and music, and mechanics, and lastly, we consider the overall value of the game. So I'm just going to kick it off right now in the general considerations section. We'll start with length. How long did it take you guys to play this game?
3.4 hours.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think around 3.5 hours.
It took me 3.5 hours, which is amazing because I forgot how to run.
Yeah.
Oh, I also forgot how to run for a little bit.
Oh,
yeah.
no.
So, yeah, I didn't run for a decent amount of it. So
I walked the entire game.
Oh, the entire game?
The entire game.
I have a question to ask you then.
Okay.
When we get into the spoiler section.
Well, surely you ran during the part that it told you to run.
Oh, yes. Yeah, there was the part where
it
you
teaches
learned
you to
how to
run. Yeah.
I learned how to run, and then I forgot how to run.
And you forgot that you could run.
I forgot I could run, and I was frustrated. And then I learned how to run again, and then I was pissed. And I was like,
At
shit.
the very end.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yep.
Oh, dang.
Yeah, but it also took me 3.5 hours. Challenge rating, I set this at beginner. But sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
only talking about like gameplay mechanically.
Yeah.
Because I feel like we'll talk about audience.
I was going to say, we didn't talk about that yet, but yeah, I feel like also beginner.
Yeah, if we're just talking about playing the game itself.
Yeah, just like mechanics and everything. Yeah, beginner level for sure.
Yeah.
Easy.
Yeah.
Easy.
Yeah, you really just, it's 2 buttons and 1 stick. That's it. If you're playing with hand, what is this?
A controller with
thank you.
hand.
With hand.
I was playing with my feet. Expert mode.
Yeah.
Gross.
I had socks on. Toe socks. I was going to say finger
that's
socks.
worse.
That's weird. Just delete all of this, please. There were a couple little mini games, at least one of which was, a couple of which that were required that did mix it up a little bit. I think one could be challenging. A little
Interesting.
bit.
Well,
we'll talk about it later, but not that challenging.
Yeah, we'll have to talk about it. Yeah,
Still beginner.
We'll have our spoiler episode next week, and we'll dive into these. So,
Mm-hmm.
target audience. We kind of talked about it already, but there should be a trigger warning for this game. So, I think our target audience are those with a dark humor.
Yeah.
Not easily triggered.
Yeah. There's a specific demographic that this is for sure. Definitely adults.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
The ESRB rating is M for mature, 17 plus, and it notes blood, language, nudity, partial nudity, strong language, suggestive themes, use of drugs, and violence. That doesn't even cover half of the crap that you see during this game.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's playful, but it's dark.
It's dark, yeah. So if you're into like darker humors or you're okay with traumas and that kind of thing, like you can get through it, then yeah, it's a good one. But
and lastly, in our general considerations section, is this game replayable?
I think that it is in some ways. There are some choices that you make along the way.
Yeah.
That, like, for an example, you can choose to pick up one item or another item, and then down the road, you may have the chance to use that item if you've got it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So there are some decisions like that, and maybe some slightly branching paths along it that you may want to explore if you're a fan of this game. I don't think the story really changes that much, so it's almost kind of Easter eggy.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there's that.
Yeah. I think for me personally, I don't think I would replay it, but I would ditto what you said. Yeah, there are choices that are made that you could choose the different choice to figure out what would happen and that kind of thing. But
yeah.
Well, I have to be honest. I've played this game before.
Oh.
I played
Thank you for your honesty.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
But I remember the feelings I had when I played this game, and I did walk out of it enjoying it. However, to replay this game after you have let the plot run its course once before, it's a tough one.
Yeah.
It's, a lot of this game is the plot and how it unfolds. And having that spoiled for you already and playing again, it just wasn't as enjoyable. So I personally
Sure.
would say no. And this is even after years, I don't know, because I didn't play it right when it came out. I probably played it 2020, 2021. I played it whenever I got my Steam Deck. So any of you who got the Steam Deck right when it released, that's when I played it. 2021, I think.
Yeah.
Maybe even
Might have been
2022.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, because we were out, it was the year, Rylan, when
That
you
we
led.
we were teamed
We
up.
were on the same
Yep.
team for Smooth Start.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I ran home on a lunch to go get it.
That was 2022. Yeah.
Cool. So I played this in 2022. 2 years was not enough for me to forget what happened. And it wasn't as fun.
Sure. I for me, I don't think this is replayable, but I will also add, I think the jokes, if you enjoyed them, I think would hit still.
Yeah.
I'm guessing after a couple of years.
Yes, that is true.
I think probably similar to like Dark Side Detective,
Mhm.
it's replayable in that way where it's just like, if you think this is funny, it's like rewatching an old TV show
Yeah.
kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I say it wasn't enjoyable, but I still enjoyed replaying the game. But
Sure.
there was just a exponentially higher amount of enjoyment that came out of my first playthrough, not knowing how the plot was going to run its course.
Enjoying that mystery kind of thing.
Yeah, because there is like an ongoing mystery throughout this whole game. So moving into story and narrative, we are entering the numbered rating of this episode. So we rate things from 1 to 5, 1 being the worst, 5 being the best. So yeah, we'll start with plot. Where did you guys rate the plot?
This is a hard one.
Really?
Yeah, because I think at the end, I feel like the plot got a lot better, as they often do in these sorts of like, I don't know, almost story games.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
I think if I replay the end again, it might even raise higher, but I think I'm at like a 3.5
Okay. Yeah.
purely on the plot.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it would probably be around the same line for me, a 3.5, because the story or the plot for me was a little slow at first, and then about halfway through you really start to kind of figure things out, and it all starts to unravel pretty quick.
Yeah.
And with a pretty short game, it happens fast. So yeah, 3.5 I think is a fair mark.
Sure. Yeah, I gave it a 4, and I did write in my notes, I was kind of unsure the first half of this game. I was like, gosh, I mean,
Yeah.
there's not a lot to this, and it kind of feels like the jokes are a little cheap sometimes. Like, I don't know how I'm feeling. And then the plot starts to thicken after the first half, and you get the lore. I appreciated that they found a way to get you the lore. Do you disagree?
Somewhat.
Okay.
I think they teased you with the lore. I think they almost teased that there was lore.
Sure. I think for me, it's just with a game this short, they did the best they could to get like, here's the background of the game, or here's the background of what's going on. And it was enough for me to be like, got it. I know what's going on. Great. Let's move forward.
Yeah.
So, now, a lot of times you just don't get that. So
Yeah.
I gave it a 4. Moving on to characters. This one kind of was a tough one for me, but I'm curious to see where you guys landed.
I would have to say, well, I don't want to be the 3.5 guy, but I'm kind of being the 3.5 guy. I would say between a 3 and a 4. The I guess it's really the main character, because there's only a handful of other characters that you really get some information on. It was a memorable character. It's sad, but it was memorable. So yeah, 3.5. I'm going to go in the middle again.
I'm torn because primarily you just engage with the titular Little Misfortune. And I think overall I ended up liking her quite a bit, but sometimes I just really didn't like her at all.
Yeah.
And so there was like these high highs and these low lows with these characters. And I don't know. So I guess I'm feeling like a 3. She's a very charming little girl, but also I don't know about her.
I also gave it a 3 because there were some really funny, entertaining parts of this game pertaining to her character. But there were also sometimes that I'm like, you're really fucking annoying. I'm annoyed by this.
That was even a plot point almost.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it was. So maybe that was on purpose, but there just wasn't a lot of character going on. You just got one. I mean, I guess you've got Mr. Voice, the voice in her head, which he does have some development of his own, but I didn't find it groundbreaking or anything
No.
like that.
Yeah. I mean, and then there's Benjamin, but Benjamin doesn't add
Oh, yeah.
a lot.
He's
into
very
the
stoic
fox.
and silent.
He is, yeah.
Well, let's move on to world building. I almost tied the world building in with the plot for this one just because I think the plot itself is very intertwined with the world building,
Yeah.
especially in this game. I know typically it is, but even more so in this game. So I also gave world building a 4. I can't really explain why without spoiling things. I don't know. Do you know how to explain
I mean,
it?
I think just from the introductory cutscene in this game, you realize there's kind of more than meets the eye of what's going on. I mean,
Yeah.
the Little Misfortune is listening to Mr. Voice, this voice in her head, and conversing with it, and you kind of get the idea, or at least I did right off the bat, that this is not just a voice in her head.
Yeah.
Like something funky and maybe like I was gonna say mystical. That's not really the right vibe, but like something supernatural
Yeah.
going on. I feel like that mystery kind of intrigues you as you go, and you kind of get a little bit more tools and teases as you go. And yeah, then at the end there is that lore drop, or that start of a lore drop. So I guess I'm leaving my rating of 4 also.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, I think I would give it a 4 also. Just to ditto what you guys said. You do get to experience a number of different areas inside the world, and it's not like it's in detail of what's going on or where you're at or those kinds of things. It's just kind of a blanket of, oh, we're at this location, we're at that location, but the plot definitely adds to that. So yeah, I would say 4.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, and for the last portion of our story and narrative section, what did you guys rate content variety?
Everything is hard to rate in this game.
Yeah.
I thought this one was easy. I rated this a 2.
I
I went
Have we ever gone to 1 on something?
No, I don't
No.
think so. Not yet. But I didn't think this deserved a 1 because I did think about it.
Sure.
I mean, the mechanics are very simple. There's a lot of you have choices that you make, but every here and there, she does have this mechanic of throwing glitter.
Yep.
You can throw glitter throughout the game. And I think that there were some mini games too. That added to it a little bit.
There were some points in the game that required you to do something slightly different. You can either do this thing or do that thing, which is distinct from choosing, I guess.
Yeah.
Like you need to, or there was a point in the game that is almost like a point and click puzzle. You need to get an answer to something. You need to find a key,
Yeah.
basically. And so you need to do like kind of solve this puzzle in a room to get the key. There's, a couple different little mini games, but largely, you're just walking and
Clicking.
selecting stuff for Little Misfortune to either interact with or comment on.
Yeah.
And so, it's just not a ton. There's not a ton. I think they did try to mix it up a little bit, but 2.
Yeah, I think I'd say 2 also with everything discussed.
Yeah. Yikes forever.
Yeah, yikes forever.
Yikes forever.
Well, moving into presentation, we're going to talk about graphics, sound design, and music and mechanics. So let's start with graphics. Where did you guys land?
I think I go 3. It was a artistic style, cartoony, but it looked great. I mean, it looked good. Yeah, I would probably say 3. It was good.
Yeah, I think the illustrative style, like that, it wasn't really my thing. I think it grew on me a little bit, but I think also a 3, like there wasn't anything terrible about it. I think it actually was, for some of the creepy stuff, it actually was pretty creepy in that style, but I think some of the people looked weird to me.
Yeah. I gave
Not
it a
amazing.
3 too. I did think that the art style added to the I don't know what word, like the naive kind of feeling, or like it was
Yeah,
almost
it's
like childlike.
Yeah.
I thought that lent well to the plot and kind of what they were doing with the game itself. So I didn't want to give it any less than a 3, but again, it's not anything special. I just thought it did exactly what I think they wanted it to do.
Yeah.
And sound design and music.
Personally,
Yeah.
I felt like this might be one of the stronger aspects of this game, which may sound weird because I don't think it was at the forefront. I think that the voice acting in this game was actually really good.
That is true.
Mr. Voice had such a great voice.
Yeah.
For it just being a voice. Like,
Yeah.
he could talk in my ear all the time, I guess. Maybe not being so creepy, though.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, he could narrate a book or something. And then Little Misfortune's voice was confusing because I didn't know what her accent, like, did she have a Russian accent?
It
But
seemed
she
like
was,
either Russian or French.
she had
or...
like
Yeah.
she had like a Mexican last name.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was confusing. But I thought after you get off like the initial shock of that voice, it was very charming, and she had her little like giggles, and just the way that she said things was entertaining. There were also a few points in the game where the music stood out to me quite a bit. One towards the end where it was kind of subtle, but the music was very tense and scary, and I was like, oh, I'm feeling this. And also during one of the mini games, they had a bop going, I'm just gonna say.
Yeah, I would. That's a great point because I didn't think about the voice acting, but the voice acting was really good in that game.
Yeah.
And there was a couple, good bops. Like you're, I guess, in a cabin, and there's a MP3 player that you can click on, and you're like, oh yeah, I could sing this. I
It's
could
a
get down on
Walkman.
this. Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's like or at least it looks like a Walkman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like 80s vibes.
Yeah.
Music.
And I forgot,
dang.
the song that she plays in her bedroom in her boombox, Dance Music Forever.
Yeah.
That's going straight on my playlist, dude.
Yeah, there's some good songs in there. So I think I would give it a 4. I think it was pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
4.
I agree. I agree with the 4. The sound design too. I mean, you had cars driving by every now and again. You had conversations happening like around you. There was just a lot of background noise that wasn't distracting, but it added to the environment that you were in.
Totally.
I really enjoyed. This was a surprisingly strong part of the game.
Yeah, and I think too, outside of the voice acting, it took a backseat to everything else you were doing, but I think it elevated it a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Lastly, in the presentation section, let's talk about mechanics. Who wants to go first?
I would give it a 3. It was functional. It did what you needed it to do. There wasn't a lot of stuff that you needed to do, but it did what it needed to do. So, I would say 3.
I gave it a 4. Again, just going off of the lack of mechanics, really. Like, there just wasn't a lot to do, but I didn't feel like I could give it a 3 because, they worked and I didn't have any issues with them. Like, honestly, you could be like, oh, they were perfect, but I wasn't comfortable giving this a 5. It was just like, it sat somewhere between a 3 and a 5 for me. So I just went with 4. It's so basic, but they worked.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I was prepared to give it lower, I think, but like they did get the job done. I think for the story they were trying to tell, they didn't need a lot more going on mechanically.
Sure.
You just need to walk and interact and occasionally do something else. The glitter throwing was nice.
Yeah.
Nice little extra thing to do. That said, it was not very exciting though. So I think I'm at like a 2.5 probably.
Well, now that we're done with our numbered ratings, let's finish it off by talking about the value. If you're not playing on your phone, is this worth $19.99?
No way.
Ooh.
I would also say no.
Well, I said yes.
Nice.
Yeah.
The only reason I'm saying that, it was really hard to judge that on my second playthrough because knowing the end and exactly how everything played out, I was like, I wouldn't pay $19.99 for that. Of course, obviously, because the ending was spoiled for me. But I do remember after I bought it and I played it, I was very tickled by the humor and I did enjoy the game a lot. I think that it was worth $19.99. But if that's just not a price point you're comfortable paying, then 100% get it on your phone if you think that this is a game that you would like, but you maybe can't spend $20 on it. Catch it on sale, or just download it on your phone. I can see this being a very
Oh,
playable
yeah,
game
definitely.
on a
Yeah,
cell phone.
for
There's nothing
sure.
mechanically preventing you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and at that $6 or $8 price point, that seems much more reasonable for a 3-hour game. I mean, it was a lot of fun, but yeah, it was only 3.5 hours and you did some stuff. And so I don't know, it was a lot of fun and I enjoyed it, but yeah, for $20 or $19.99, I wouldn't spend that money.
It's just so unique. I think that was the thing for me. Like,
It is a weird one.
It's a very weird game, and
Yeah.
and for people who enjoy the macabre and the games that are kind of out there, that they're kind of pushing those boundaries of what's appropriate to put in a game. Doki Doki Literature Club, I feel like this kind of fits in with that, like really pushing the boundaries of triggers and I don't know, people that can handle it and that enjoy that kind of dark humor.
Yeah, kind of exploring that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, that brings us to the end of our rating episode. But before we close out, we need to talk about our final ratings. What did you guys rate this game out of 5?
I think I would give it a 3.4.
Wow.
Not my New Year's resolutions. No, I think I'd give it a 3.4. I think it was a fun game. I did really enjoy the humor. The voice acting was really good. The music was good. Yeah, it's just a little different than what we normally play. And so being prepared for those trigger warnings right off the bat, you just kind of have to be prepared for it. But outside of that, it was overall a good game.
Oh, I think that I'm at like a 2.3.
Oh.
Wow.
I didn't enjoy myself that much when I was playing this game.
Yeah.
I do have a little hesitation with that score because the end intrigues me. I feel like I almost want to play the end again just to digest it further.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe some points for replayability there. Because I think the overall concept is interesting and has potential. But there were so many times in this game where I was honestly just embarrassed to be playing it out loud at my desk. So I did genuinely laugh out loud at times, but a lot of times it was like groaning or feeling awkward. I think some of the humor just took it too far into things that, while are all like real things that happen, I just felt like the combination of throwing all this at once to the same little girl, I was just like, this is a bit extreme. And like, is like, I don't know what the joke is at some point. Like it, I don't know. Like I think about like things like South Park. It's like almost a similar style of humor, but South Park is also very satirical. And I don't know what this was satire on. It's almost just like kind of sad, or like, I don't know. Maybe I was just uncomfortable making fun of those situations as much. I don't know how to. I didn't like it, I guess. Yeah.
There were a few things, especially in the beginning, that I was like, this feels like you're pushing it. Like, I don't find the humor in this at all.
Yeah.
Even with someone who has, like, I do kind of have a dark humor side to me. It was just like, oh, I was like, this just isn't funny. Like, not even in a dark satirical way. It's just, ugh.
Yeah. There's definitely moments for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, so I could see that.
There were parts that were also funny. Like this had quite a variance of different like types of jokes and things. And I don't know, just a lot of it wasn't my style, I guess.
Yeah. Sure.
Well, I also gave it a 3.4.
Whoa. Twins.
Nice. Twins.
I've totally lost my train of thought because I'm thinking of that song that goes, "That's my twin."
Oh,
that's my dog.
Yeah,
that's my twin. Anyways, I enjoyed it. I thought it was funny. Wouldn't replay it again, but I've played it twice now.
Yeah.
Plot is great. I thought the ending is great. And once you get through that halfway point and it really starts to pick up, it's all worth it. So 3.4 I thought was fair. Well, this concludes the rating episode for Little Misfortune. Please join us next week for the discussion episode as we dive into the details of this game and all its hidden gems. If you haven't played the game yet and this sounds like something you may be interested in, I hope you find time to play. Please go and give the podcast a follow and 5 stars and a review if you liked what you heard. You can email us with any comments, questions, or constructive criticism at letmebeyourgg@gmail.com. You can also send us game requests if there's something you would like us to review, like River did.
Yeah.
You can find us on all socials, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Twitch, as Let Me Be Your GG. And then on TikTok, we are Let Me Be Your Game Guide. Our Patreon is patreon.com/letmebeyourgg. And we thank you so much for listening. We can't wait to see you next week. And thank you so much for letting me be your game guide. GG, y'all.
Bye.
Bye.
Well, okay. Anyways.
Sorry.
Jesus. No, I'm just kidding. Thank
Can't
you
invoke
for
his
recording
name on
that.
the podcast.
Put that pen down. Because I can tell you're going to fidget with it.
Guilty.
Well, you went click, 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 click.
I know. I can't even pretend.